Hey guys, it's Nemo and welcome to today's video, which is the HMS Daring. Now there will be two videos today. The first one here, will showcase the Daring without IFHE, and the second video will showcase the Daring with IFHE. Now, some of the stats of the Daring are it has a 6 kilometer surface detection. It is quite slow, as you can see. Even though I haven't got to straight line speed yet, it hasn't even maxed out above 35, 36 at the moment. It does get to about 36.4, I think, in straight line speed. Now straight line speed doesn't mean anything because you only really use straight line speed when you're either trying to flank or get into a cap, and now you're not really going to go flanking too much, although on this map that's what you want to try and do. You want to try and get around to the side at the C cap here as the destroyer and spot for your team. I did go to tell my team that, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to worry. Now I probably should have, because the more communication you have in random battles the better. Anyway, we have 113mm guns which fire at 2.2 seconds with the reload module on the, I think it's the 5 slot or the 6 slot, and I also have BFT, so that makes it the 2 seconds. Without the BFT it makes it 2.2 seconds, so you're not really missing out on anything without BFT. So this first build has BFT. The second build, which I had to respec my commander for in the second video, does not have BFT, but 0.2 seconds, not much of a difference. Now I don't run AR on this ship at all, because it's just not worth it, because everything fires so quickly. You want to use your guns more than your torpedoes, but in saying that, you have to get in the right position to use your guns. Now here, coming up, is the weakness of this 6 kilometer detection and slow speed. At that island there, to our right, although I'm not aimed at it, there, a Kitakazi pops out, and then AP. So I hit AP, I think the first salvo does about 1500, and then the second one does about 29, so the AP is pretty good. It still has those relatively good firing angles, but when we were sold it, that the community contributors were testing it, you know, it's got these great firing angles, you don't need IFHEs, you don't need high explosive and things, and yeah, I think you do. Anyway, I get caught. Here's the problem with the slow speed. See how I got caught with the Minotaur's radar? And even though the Minotaur's pushing in and he's now inside the cap circle, it takes me a long time to get out of that radar, and I've already popped one heal to try to save myself from the onslaught of fire, and I'm underneath half health. I'm so far under health. It's incredible. I thought I was actually going to die at the beginning of this battle, right then and there, and then I was going to let the team down, and just not comfortable to play. She's a nice looking ship, but not a comfortable ship to play. And sometimes aesthetics aren't what you look for in a ship. You want it to be effective. So, being a destroyer, and destroyer, I'm not talking about the Khabarovsk or the Shimakaze, and the reason I don't talk about the Khabarovsk and the Shimakaze as destroyers is they can't fulfill that multi-role. Yes, the Shima has excellent concealment, but her torpedoes get spotted from a mile away, and her guns, they deliver a heavy alpha strike on the first shot, but then you've got to wait almost 8 seconds before they reload again. They're not very good gunfighting guns. So the Shima is on one end of the spectrum for destroyers, and then the Khabarovsk is a one-trick pony. It's got that speed, and then it just spams high explosive on everything, but it can't fulfill the role of destroyer. So those two ships which don't really fulfill that multi-role, you know, the out the front, the screening, the capping and contesting caps, and attacking capital ships with torpedoes. And yes, I know the Shima does that, but you can, as I said, you can see them from a long way away, the torpedoes. So everything else, when I talk about destroyers, I'm not talking about those two ships. So the Daring is, in my opinion, the worst destroyer at tier 10, because it has a 6 kilometre detection. Now there are two other ships with 6 kilometres and 6.1 kilometre detection. That's the Grozhevoy with 6 and the Z52 with the 6.1, but the Z52 has that 5.5 hydroacoustic, so it has effective tools to counter its weaknesses. The Grozhevoy has great speed, it has AA, it has a heel, it has engine boost, it has a smoke screen. So the Grozhevoy has many tools which can help it to counter the fact that it's only got a 6 kilometre surface detection. The Daring, it doesn't have any tools to help it counter anything. The heel's not that great. The smokes don't last long enough. The hydro's only 3 kilometres, so yes, it's great for spotting torpedoes. If you want to use it as a screening destroyer, which is what you would ideally want to use your destroyer as, then it's okay because it has the hydro, but it hasn't got the great surface detection. So once again here I'm radared by the Minotaur, and you just can't get out of the radar. So for me, the Daring is just weak, and if I fire IFHE here, if I fire high explosive here, sorry, all I will do is shatter on the 19mm of armour of a high tier destroyer. So because it's got 113mm guns, your high explosive can only penetrate 18.8. Same as the Jutland. Millimeters of armour, and then it doesn't round up, it rounds down, which means that the nearest threshold I believe is 16mm, so you can only punch through 16mm of armour. Now no high tier destroyer has 16mm of belt armour. You can punch through high tier destroyers superstructure because it's only 13mm of armour. But a lot of these little destroyers don't have that much superstructure that you can aim through. A lot of the stuff on top of the hull is counted more as part of their hull, and so it's really difficult to try to hit them with high explosive. And that's why the IFHE, unfortunately for the Jutland and the Daring, I recommend you have to have them. So these two battles that I'm going to show you, they're not very high in damage. The Daring, to do a lot of damage, you have to essentially wait and bait, and I don't like to play like that. I like to get out in front of my ships, my battleships, and screen for them, or my cruisers or whatever. I like to contest caps. Now, this ship can be a very good cap contester, especially once you put the IFHE on. But again, it's all about patience and waiting, and we've noticed that with the entire Royal Navy destroyer line. It's all about waiting for the enemy to come in and push into you. And there's a little bit here in this video later on where I just can't chase down an enemy destroyer fast enough, and it could have cost players and teammates their ships. It could have cost the game if players were to push too hard. Luckily for me, my battleship player knew that he couldn't catch the destroyer, and I said to him, I can't catch that. It'll come up later anyway. But the slowness of this ship is an extreme weakness. It doesn't just feel slow, it feels extremely sluggish to maneuver as well, and which is really strange because you can't fit the engine boost, the propulsion module. You can only fit the steering gears or the consumable to repair fire and flooding damage extremely quickly. So it shouldn't feel sluggish, but it does. And here again we have like the AP. The AP is quite strong, especially when you get it in the right angles. You can, as you see here, finish off battleship to a low health quite quickly. Now, if he had been on a little bit more health, I could have whittled him down fast, because the guns fire so fast. And the AP is not too bad, especially when you get anything broadside. As you saw on that Kitakaze early on, I got nearly a 3,000 damage roll, which wasn't, against a destroyer. That's a lot of health off for a destroyer. Now I know that the Daring has the highest health pool, and I run the survivability expert on pretty much all my destroyers. So it boosts that health pool. As you can see, there's 24,300 health, which is quite large for a destroyer, and it's good. It's competitive at tier 10 plus the heal, but as you can see, I've already blown both my heals. What do I do now? My destroyer hasn't got any tricks up its sleeve. The 10-kilometer torpedoes, you can fire them single fire, yes, which is one of the great things about the Royal Navy destroyer line. But being so slow with such a short range on your torpedoes means that if that Minotaur had been a Worcester, because this was before the Worcester got nerfed, so this is when the Worcester had a 9.9 radar, now it's only got a 9-kilometer radar. I would have been gone. It would have absolutely wrecked me. Now, in this Yamato here, now watch this. I switched to the high explosive to try and set some fires, because that's pretty much all you could do, is just shatter on the armor of the superstructure and get fires. Now watch the shatters start to build up. None of these shots penetrate the superstructure of the Yamato. Now the Yamato superstructure, as you can see there, look at them just all hit and then shatter. Oh, one module damaged, okay. Well, not very exciting to damage one AA module with all those shots that hit. The superstructure of the Yamato is 19mm of armour, and most high tier battleships will have a 19mm armour superstructure. And that's why all they did there was just shatter, and I stopped firing in the end. And the reason I watched those is because I thought, I'll just watch these. If I put this into a video, I can showcase how my high explosive just does no damage at all. So what I want to do now is get out in front of my curve first. I can see the torpedoes over there. I need to help him out, and the reason I fire here is I'm trying to bait out where the destroyers are, because I know that there was a Gearing and a Kitakaze, and then to my horror the Kitakaze turns up behind me. And see, the Daring can't do that, because the Daring's not fast enough to do any of that sort of stuff. So I smoke up, try to disappear using the AP, because as you know, the high explosive does pretty much nothing. Put out a random torpedo spread, because the random torpedo spread is the one that causes the most damage to players. For some reason, destroyer players just like to hit random torpedoes. It's happened quite a bit in the videos I've posted. But the Kitakaze here doesn't take one. So. Now this battle and the next battle don't have very high damage, and for you guys who watch my channel and my clan mates who play with me a fair bit, they know that I'm not about the damage. I'm all about the objective. Now I got the one cap here, but because I couldn't move anywhere, I've been almost defeated with this ship. I would have liked to go and get another cap, but I'd move out here to go and screen because I know I can't gunfight the Kitakaze. If I gunfight the Kitakaze, he's going to get me, and I could throw the game for my team, and that'll be the end of it. And too many players throw the game, unfortunately. The objective is more important in winning than damage is. You have a look at my Jarvis video, for example. There's only 2 of my ships left at the end. And we win because we had more caps throughout the game, and we held those caps and defended the caps, and had, because they were building up points over time, lots of points, we were able to give up 1-2 caps at the end. You know, I think we only finished with 1 cap at the end of that Jarvis video. Now there was where I told my guys I'm too slow to catch the gearing. There's no way I'm going to catch him. And our Conqueror actually does really well by getting a cap over there at A, and then he heads into B. But if you're worried about win rate, play the objective. Play the objective and worry about damage second, and you'll see your win rate start going up. I do have another video where I'm in the Atlanta, and the video, there's no commentary, but the title is Why You Must Cap. And we win the game with less ships because we cap. Okay, so objective is important. I know that community contributors out there show you how to do damage, and you know, let's get all this damage, and yeah, it's fun to have damage. Yes, it is fun to have damage, it's good, but I can tell you what, your win rate will go up if you play objective play and then damage second. Now I try to open fire here. I get a couple of damage rolls that are about 900 each. Now this is the good thing about these fast firing guns, is that you can put a lot of fire onto the target. As Jingles says, you know, throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. So that's the good thing about these 113mm guns, is they fire so fast. The only reason the gearing doesn't gunfight me here, because if he had have turned and had a gunfight with me, he would have killed me, is because I've got a curve first behind me. Now I think if I was the gearing, I would have killed the low health daring and then run the risk of getting shot at by the curve first. The curve first has what, a 30-second reload. I've got, I think in the gearing you might have a 2.5, 2.7, something like that. Easy gunfight to win against the daring there, because you can fire your high explosive, so it doesn't matter how angled he is. If he's only firing AP, you can just keep your ship angled and just bounce him off. That would have helped turn the tide. It would have then been a 3-on-3 with 3 destroyers versus 3 battleships. Now I know that there's not much time left, but I didn't know this at the time. I only realised that that the time was counting down as much as it was when I think the game got to something like 8 seconds. My battleship here, my curve first, tells me to turn around, and it was a good move. Both of us turning around and running, it then means that the gearing has got to chase us, and if he's going to fire his 16.5km torpedoes, then they have to chase as well. And we just needed to stay together and win the game. And one of the players in there, he says, defend C and we'll win the game. And I still hadn't realised by this time, as I said, that it was only a minute to go. But we have the points. And when you have the points, you don't need to try and throw the game. Too many people have the no cap kill all mentality, and that is the biggest thrower of games, whether it's ranked, whether it's randoms, even in co-op. People will do the no cap. I know it's co-op and it's fun to get out there and kill, and you don't really mind losing and stuff, but you should, co-op was created for practice. You should be practicing how to win and all those sorts of things. And not throwing. The no cap kill all, just that's enough to make anybody salty. Anyway, it's only about here that I realised that we are going to win, and we do. So it was good that we won, but I felt so ineffective. I felt like there was nothing I could do. I felt like I couldn't spot because I was going to get outspotted, and I couldn't cap because if I didn't cap, then I wouldn't spot. So I'm only 35,000 damage, but the team score's not up, but I did end up finishing third. So let's go to the daring with IFHE. So this build now has the not preventative maintenance, it has the IFHE and not the BFT. It's got the priority target, it has last stand, it has the survivability expert, concealment, and then as I said the IFHE. So I think he's a 16-point captain, but I think I've only used 14. I'm not worried about AR, as I said. I don't think that the AR on a ship that guns fire every 2.2 seconds is really worth it. Yes, it reloads your torpedoes a bit better, but one of the skills I'm going to spec into is the torpedo reload skill on the captain, which will make them fire faster, and then you can... I think AR on this ship would definitely be a waste of 2 points. I might spec into radio location. The only reason I wouldn't is that this ship is so slow, you pretty much play it around the cap all the time, that as soon as the cap is being contested, you know there's something in here. Okay, so we're going in, and we see it's starting to be flipped. Straight away, hydro on, so I know that there's no torpedoes coming in, and I get spotted because you've got the worst spotting. Now the Shima spots me here, and then there's a Latrib, and the IFHE. Now, see there, nice big 1600 damage plus a 1100 with the IFHE. So if I didn't have that on there, there's no way, as you saw in the previous battle, I couldn't have done that to a Shimakaze with 19mm of plating, so hull armor plating. So I launched my torps around here because I'm expecting them to come around, and they do, and there's a Latrib. Now it also has the 19mm of armor, and as you can see, the high explosive is doing damage on him. So I keep rushing in. I figure that I'm getting wrecked here. If I can just get rid of one of these destroyers, I will have done my job for the team. So I switch over to I did some AP there, went back to the high explosive. I'm heading in tight to the island because I want to hug the island from both torpedoes and from any shots from radar from the other ships. Now 2.2 reload, it's great. I get the Tarib, and then yep, double strike. We get the Shima as well, so that's why it's always good to launch those torpedoes where you think the enemy's going to go. If you launch your torpedoes first and then attack the enemy, then you try to force them into the path of your torpedoes. Now I know I'm radared here and I've got next to no health, so I just want to sit back and heal up. I've done my job. I've more than done my job. I've defended this cap. I have taken out 2 destroyers, which is what you want to do. That's your job as a destroyer. Now, just putting the IFHE on this ship made it feel so much more comfortable. It's still got the same turning circle, it's still got the same armor and all those sorts of things, but it just felt like it could contest. It just felt like it could work. And getting those 2 guys like that, it vindicated every decision that I made to put the IFH in. Now, unfortunately, you have to run it. I think that if you have a ship that requires 10 points of your commander skill, because that's what it requires for this ship to work, 10 points of your commander skill, with only 9 to do what you want to. So it's not really a custom build, it's almost a 10-point mandatory build. You know, you need to have Last Stand, you need to have Concealment Expert, you need to have IFHE. Just build them into the ship, I think. I think that Wargaming should just build them into the ship straight away, and then the captain should be totally customizable, that all the skills you select are what makes your ship feel comfortable for you. They're not skills that are needed for you just to be competitive. Anyway, the reason I go back around the back of this island is because I know that there was a Worcester last spotted there at the island I was torpedoed at, and the speed, as we saw from the last match, and this one here is really slow, and the last thing you want to do is get caught in radar. I did get caught in radar a couple of times before with the Minotaur. Lucky it was a Minotaur, because you can bounce the Minotaur. If it had been a Worcester, I could have been absolutely destroyed. So I've done this right. I've done my cap. I've taken out 2 destroyers. So I've done my job here on this side of the map. What's the next thing I need to do as a destroyer? Okay, I need to keep spotting, and I need to contest the other caps that aren't in our control. But I'm slow. So I decide I'm going to head up around the back where the Kiev is coming down into B, because it'll be safer. And the game is, as you can see, we've got half the enemy ships are destroyed. They have half left. We've only got 1 down. So there's no real need to do anything risky. And then I spot a Montana. Yeah, always saying don't do risky things, and then I go and do something like this. I thought if I could get my torpedoes off on this Montana, then that means that that's 1 less ship that my guys have to fight. But you've only got 10-kilometer torpedoes, and you have a very slow ship. So this decision probably wasn't the best. I should have just gone up and into the cap, I think, with the Kiev. And then one of the Worcesters, because there's a double Worcester there, pops his radar, and luckily for me, I have this island in the way, so I can negate all the fire from those guys coming across to me. I have to try and get out of here as quick as I can, and then looking around, I see the Curve First down there, and the Curve First, as a battleship player, that's the right move. You know, trying to get the destroyer. The only problem was they just fell a bit short, and luckily they fell short, because that would have hurt. That would have been the end of me. It'd only take a couple of over penetrations and I would have been finished off. Again, as you can see, the heel on my ship is gone. I'm going to be running one of the 3 points I'll be getting will be the Superintendent, because I just need that. You need that extra heal. You can't heal enough to be effective, and it's almost, yeah, it is good having it. As you saw, I was really low on health before. Maybe it could just heal a bit more. That'll be a nice thing because of the slowness of the ship. Anyway, as you saw there, I think it was our friendly Yugamo got caught inside a double Worcester radar. Not very fun. And there you can see the IFHE is doing damage to the cruiser. Now I know the cruiser doesn't have the 19mm of armour in its superstructure, but it's doing a lot more damage than what it would without it. So back to my role of spotting. I launch a random single torp spread down here, just in case the Worcester decides to come out, though why he's going to come out I don't know, because he'd be crossfired, and the Worcester is it's a good ship for your own firepower, but broadside on, yeah, it's the end of you. You don't want to give broadside to anything, especially, you know, a battleship, a Curve First or something like that, or a Yamato here sitting behind me, so that wouldn't end very well. So I finally get to where I wanted to go, Our Kiev, he unfortunately went down. They are fast, the Kiev, but he's got a horrible turn-in circle that he wouldn't have been. He was going nose in. He wouldn't have been able to get out of there. Now see the Yamato there, and this little nook here on the island left on the right of me. I decide that I'm going to smoke up here and help out and fire. And if I need to retreat, I can just retreat back into that little nook. But unfortunately I went a bit too far out because I couldn't see very well. And now I've probably taken the vision away from my Yamato, but because there's a destroyer down there spotting, the Yamato should be able to see. And now, as you can see, we're getting the penetrations through the superstructure. Not big ones, but at least it's going through. Whereas the last Yamato we attacked, it just was shattering all over the place. There still were some shatters. Now those shatters would have been probably hitting the bridge, like the conning tower, or the gun turrets, and even the deck would have been shattering on the deck there. But all in all, as you can see, another game where it's not very high damage, but did my job. 2 kills in there right at the beginning, double strike, 1 cap, 2 defenders, and spotting ribbons. You can't ask for much more from a destroyer. And as long as you're doing your job as a destroyer, you're going to have more success than, more wins than defeats. So at the end I'm trying to toss up who I should shoot at because the game is well over. And then I think, well, there's a Montana down there and a Kagro, so I'm going to get a cap here, so I'll get an assisted cap, which means I've again done more of my job. And then I start opening up on the Montana and see if I can get some damage on him, just to try and pad my damage stats a little more at the end of the match. But the game's over. It was a good game. As you can see, the IFHE unfortunately is a necessity, and we get the win. So as I said, I think any ship that needs things built in, mandatory things like the last stand for destroyers, a concealment expert for pretty much every ship runs concealment expert, and then the daring here needs the IFHE. I think they need to just be built into the ship so you can have your own customizable captain. So we'll just have a look and we'll wait for our screen to come up. She's a nice looking ship. The only daring class destroyer that I know that is around is HMS Daring in Sydney Harbour here in Australia. So she's a good ship to go and visit. I really enjoyed that. Anyway, good win, not bad credits, not high damage, but didn't need it. Again, another third on the team. So, hey guys, that's my daring commentary. Hope you get something out of it. I hope you learn anything, and thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.